Nathan Tapper, the Chittenden County Forester, here at the Andrews Community Forest. So things here at Andrews are going pretty smoothly. The ground is frozen. So when the ground is frozen, it means that it's easier to pull trees out of the woods. It also means that our trails are protected from compaction. They're protected from stuff like damaging the roots of trees. And so it's just a really, really exciting time when we can do this forest management work and be really surgical about it and cause a very, very low impact. You'll remember that one of the goals for some areas of the Andrews Community Forest was actually to intentionally cause some superficial soil impacts, so what we call scarification. The goal being to scuff up the surface layer of the soil in order to encourage the regeneration of specifically white pine and red oak. But there are also areas of the Andrews Community Forest that have sensitive soils, and we certainly want to protect those. So those are the areas where we're working in now, where the soils are more sensitive, and because they're frozen, we can have logging equipment accessing those areas without causing adverse impacts. One of the things I've been thinking about a lot are the sort of holistic benefits of forest management. So there's a lot of things that I think are exciting about forest management, obviously. This is why I'm so excited to talk about it. But especially within the context of ecological forest management, it's exciting in a number of different ways. So the benefit of having a more active approach rather than a passive approach in the case of forest management is it allows us to more broadly think about how forests and forest management contribute to a better world in a more holistic sense, right? So we want a world that is ecologically functional. We want a world that has habitat for all of our ecosystems, our natural communities, all the species that occupy them. But we also want a world in which our communities are healthy, in which people have economic opportunity, in which we have justice and equity at every level, right? And so while forest management can't solve all of these problems, especially the idea of harvesting a local renewable resource within an ecological forestry framework from a living system, I think is so compelling. Local renewable resources allow us to own the impacts of the resources that we're consuming. So rather than displacing those impacts somewhere else in the world, we're saying, nope, even if this makes us uncomfortable, we're going to have these right here, where we can keep an eye on them, where they're subject to our environmental laws, where we can ask questions about them. They also allow us to keep the good parts of forest management here. So jobs, economic benefits of having local resources for loggers and truckers and mills, forest landowners. And in general, local renewable resources support a lot of the things we care about. One thing that I often say to people is, we don't get to choose if we have an impact over our ecosystems. We have an impact whether we like it or not. We're consuming things all the time. We're eating them, we're wearing them. We live in houses made out of them. All that stuff is made out of something, and it took energy to create, right? And so the question is, what do we want our impact on the world to be? Do we want it to be an impact like forest management, which can be done in this way that's really compelling? Or do we want it to be an impact that we don't have to deal with ourselves, but that is a much more dire impact that maybe we wouldn't be comfortable with if it was happening in our communities? So I think that recognizing that that's not a real choice that we have to have this impact, and then empowering people to think about what do we want that impact to be is a really, really important part of forest management. So as we're thinking about, how we manage forests, I like to sort of broaden our focus to think not just about how are we making forests healthier, how are we making forests more complex, but how is the way that we're managing forests helping to create a better world?